Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you loved this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. Today we're discussing the Louis Vuitton Tambour as it arrived in 2023, although the Tambour dates back more than 2 decades before the launch of this model. It defines the contemporary aesthetic of LV's defining model line. So the Tambour now a full integrated bracelet sports watch, but one that I would describe as being more on the dress casual end of the sports watch spectrum as opposed to the smash mouth end of the sports watch spectrum. It is a very easy watch to wear at 40 millimeters in diameter in stainless steel. It's 8.7 millimeters thick, and because the case itself is almost lugless, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure from the outermost rigid outcropping of the bracelet. So the total rigid distance across the wrist measures 51.2 millimeters, which makes it sound bigger than it is. So we'll throw it on my wrist so you have a concrete example to go by. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and you can see that the bracelet does have an anatomic quality to it. It's ergonomically sound. It arcs around the wrist, making this watch wearable for a man or a woman. I really think even on a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference, the edge of the case is going to be so far inboard the edge of your wrist, it's going to look right. And then here's your cuff shot. You can see it's got a very short profile, and it's slightly tumble home profiled, so that it has sort of a conical run from its base to its top. It easily slides under a cuff. The bracelet is lovely. A lot of thought went into this design. We have these intermediates in polish. The primaries have satin finish. You can see that there's a lovely bevel that runs along the edge of these links. They are fixed by bars, which means you'll need a block and a punch to size this one at home, but the bars are quite secure, and you can see that we have a lot of these removable links, so you're going to be able to fine-tune the fit quite precisely. Taking a look at the underside, you can see that there are gaps calculated to avoid trapping heat on the wrist, and it is a very comfortable bracelet. It doesn't pinch skin or pull hair. The clasp here is perhaps the only part of the watch that looks obviously purchased from a supplier. Now, the good news, though, is that it's also the part that disappears when all this is closed, but it is one oversight from the design process that otherwise produced something appearing bespoke in every regard. Now, the case is lovely. Tambour, meaning drum, of course, producing a case that resembles, well, a drum. What's really nice, though, is the attention to detail. You can see this sort of satin-finished track that features the name of the company in little polished, raised and relieved letters right there. And so you have this wonderful little boundary of a flange below and a flange above. It's a great looking watch. The bezel is polished and completely flat, almost flush to a flat crystal. That gives it a wonderful seamless aesthetic. We have a little miniature tambour profile for the crown with an LV logo on the outside, and we'll see more of the monogram on the case back. The dial features several different styles of decoration, and you can see also several different depths and focal planes. We have these lovely chiseled carve-outs around the edge that have been plated for bright faceted shines. So those act as your hour indices, and then inboard of that you can see we have faceted individual indices as well as numerals. The indices, the numerals, and the hands are all 18 karat white gold, so they will not tarnish. We have several different types of finish that create the different hues of blue. It's not so much that the color is different, it's that the surface textures here are quite distinct, and you can really see what I mean about the way this dial is made. And perhaps from this angle, you could see better what I mean when I describe these hour indices as cut into the dial. There's also a little concentric pattern for sub-seconds. The watch does not feature hacking, but it is a chronometer rated, so although you cannot stop the seconds hand, the watch is in fact very, very precise. So the way to do this necessarily is to just find the time that you want to set the watch to and apply back pressure on that minute until the seconds hand crosses, and then let it go. So you can synchronize it to the second, and it is an ISO 3159 chronometer, and it is time-lapse certified. It even comes with the extended chronometer card, so you get to see all of the different positional and situational performances of this movement in gaining its chronometer certificate, and it surpasses the COSC in just about every regard, so it goes beyond the 3159 standards. Out back, protected to 50 meters, we have a movement that they call the LFT023. Now, in truth, it's a collaboration between La Fabrique du Temple Louis Vuitton and Cercle des Horlogers, which is a movement manufacturer associated with Speak Marins. This is sort of a fusion of both of their visions. Obviously, the style and the individual decorative choices are very unique to this model. You can see the monogram on the micro rotor. It automatically winds a 50-hour power reserve. All this beaten away at 4 hertz. It pivots on 31 joules. The movement's nice and large. It's 30.6 millimeters in diameter, so it fills this case back well. You can see the monogram on the rotor, but then if you look carefully, you can also see a version of the monogram cut into the ratchet wheel above the barrel. We have a design that reportedly took its inspiration from Grunewald, with bevels on the edge, then these raised satin channels around the edges of the bridges, inboard of the bevels, and then this sort of chiseled texture inboard of those channels. So Grunewald was sort of the touchstone here stylistically, and that's where a lot of that style comes from. This engine turning, beautifully concentric and tightly overlapped on the base plate. All screw heads are polished, and you can see we have the use of clear sapphires, which gives a more steely, monotone, contemporary grayscale aesthetic than synthetic rubies. Edicron is used for fine timing and beat correction, but I actually don't mind that. It is a very precise system that yields excellent results. Now, about the 50-meter water resistance, you may wonder, according to the folks at the launch in 2023 in Paris, they were all telling me that this watch is safe for surface swimming, even though it's a push-down crown and 50 meters rated. So just take that for what it's worth, but that comes straight from the source. And then you can see the watch is nicely loomed with radially arrayed Arabic numerals. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.